Good afternoon. Welcome to Padre's Podcast.
Howdy. We got a lot of something in here, feedback or some kind of big old rolling thing here, like the thunders. There we go. Now we got something right. Hey, is it a beautiful day?
Oh, it's gorgeous. I just went home and let the dog out.
I think it's in the 70s or something, isn't it?
I don't know, but
The temperature's real moderate.
fantastic.
Humidity's
Good breeze.
down low too. Little breeze out there. Wow. I would say that it's fall, but
Well, we don't.
I'm a little scared of that.
Yeah, it's going to turn up. Heat's going to turn up again.
That's normally what happens.
Yeah.
That's normally what happens. But I've been watching too. I looked at that channel 143 this morning to see what was happening out there about storms and stuff. Nothing perking.
Good. This time last year, we'd already had one.
Yeah. So, that whole thing that people sometimes get spooky about in this area and south and north too, up through Cape Hatteras and all that. So far, not there. I read somewhere, maybe somebody told me, it was an insurance person. It said that in the end of August is when you start seeing all those big boats from Florida headed north. Because once hurricane season starts, if they're in that hurricane zone, their insurance won't pay for them. So they have to head north, and then when hurricane season's over with, they'll come back south again. And said that the big yachts that stay down there, they're all self-insured. So they don't have to worry about that. And they went on to say, that if you've got one of those huge yachts, you're not worried about insurance. You're not worried about that.
Replace it.
You just get another one because the insurance is not going to be so doggone expensive. You just let it go down. We'll get another one. Get another one. God. I saw on the news they were confiscating a yacht or a couple of yachts from people that were from countries where they were doing drugs and all that kind of stuff. Can you imagine a boat that cost $300 million? This is a boat. This is on the water. It can go down. And I saw where the Russian Navy launched a ship, and it got out in the water, and
That would be disappointing.
that was very disappointing. Yeah, very disappointing. So I'm thinking, there's some shipbuilders and designers that lost their job or their head or whatever, just like that. Oh, the thing about it is, if a human being makes it, God can sink it. They got all that stuff, about how the Titanic was unsinkable.
Till it hit an iceberg.
When we were over in one of those trips, we were over in Ireland. We were down in Dublin somewhere, and went to this store that had all kind of souvenirs and stuff like that, And there was this big, you could buy this T-shirt that said, "We made it, you sank it," because the ship was made in Ireland, but it was captained by the British. We made it, you sank it. You sank it. And that's where the big Titanic Museum is and all that.
I didn't realize that was built in Ireland.
Yeah. That's why the Titanic Museum's in Dublin.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
That was, I was watching a program on ATV yesterday about the lighthouses in Ireland and the development of those lighthouses and how they built them on those way out in the middle of nowhere, and all that stuff. It was just really fascinating.
You're going to use that in a sermon illustration coming up?
At some point, I'll tuck it away, But I was watching that program, and then late yesterday evening, I was talking to a person in England, and you dial that number, and it's just right there in the next room. That's like with Regina with the finances and stuff. She's in Austria, and she just there's no difference than when she was right down the hallway. It is amazing how that technology stuff works. And then we get the call from one of the grandchildren last night, and it's not a call; it's a FaceTime thing. Gee whiz!
Nice.
It is. It's
Yeah, you can really stay connected.
it really is. Not to watch. Your mama said COVID's going around again, so kind of.
Okay.
Now, that COVID doesn't pass our house. We take so doggone much vitamins, it just says they don't need to bother with this. COVID goes on down
It's
the
like
street.
the Passover. It's like the blood on the doorpost.
Yeah. No, we got magnesium.
GNC.
We got magnesium and all the rest of it. Passing on over. But I do hear it's back again. Have you heard that?
I don't think it ever leaves. It's a virus.
So you think
I'm
it's...
just saying. I think that there's always a COVID strain around. It's on the back. It's been on the back of the Lysol bottle for decades.
I use that original Listerine. I think that's a help
That
too.
kills most things.
Yeah. I heard you can polish your car with that, but I don't.
You probably can.
It's serious.
You ever accidentally swallowed a little bit?
It's pretty strong.
It's pretty strong.
But I've heard that people who are addicted to alcohol, that has a real high alcohol content.
Yes, it does.
That in desperation,
Golly, that
they'll
would
turn to Listerine, eat you up. So what's happening? What do we got? We got anything going on here?
We got a lot going on. Last Friday, I started Bible study, walking through the book of Hosea, and it was the first time I'd done a hybrid study where I had people in my house, in person, and then I had people on the big TV screen on Zoom. So it was really fun.
And now, could the people in your house see the people on the screen?
They could see them because I had them on the TV, but the people on the TV couldn't see them unless I turned my computer around, which I did a couple of times. And then tonight, Bennett and John start a study. I think it's called Rest and War is the name of the book by Ben Stewart that they're using. And so we were walking through how to do small groups on Zoom this morning and getting them ready for that. The TV's behind you over there to pull in for tomorrow. We've got our second session of confirmation.
And
Strengthening your
John's
journey.
doing that.
John's doing a teaching on church history, and so we were talking about that, and it's like, whew, that's a lot you could cover. So just trying to pick out like some of the high points.
Oh my goodness.
What's important for this session of strengthening your journey.
Your mom and I are going to come to that. I'm looking forward to that.
So he's been working on that. You did a great job last week.
Thank you, ma'am. I put that on video so it could be used in future classes if need be.
And it was show and tell, so you went around and told.
And when, after the next day I thought, oh God, I didn't say I should have said something about this. But it was
There's
already
so much.
It's already running past time. And
All right, well, did you talk about the shape of the church being a boat?
no, I didn't.
Oh, share that now. I love that.
That was one of them.
Sorry.
I forgot. I talked about the rafters.
Right.
Being like the rafters over there, only these are not hard pine. These, on
Right.
the historic campus we have the steel bars across, so because it's Gothic and it'll go that way, it's taller than it is wide, to keep it from getting whopped like that. And we don't have those in here. Neither do we have buttresses on the outside like the medieval church do, because these, the wood up here is a casing that is around steel beams. So under all of that, there are steel beams up there that give it a rigidity to withstand hurricane force winds or anything else like that. But yeah, the point is you look up there, and if you were to turn that over, it would look like the inside of the hull of a ship. And that's why this part of the church is called the nave, which is Latin for navy. And you go from the outside world, all that is involved with, and you're moving toward God, and the ship is the ship of the church is the one that helps you make that transition from sinfulness to holiness, and it's all under the cross that's right up there.
Which, if you don't know, there's a cross right
Yeah,
here.
there's a cross right up here, and you see on the historic campus, you got this huge cross there. On the Cross Point service over there, there's a cross right over your head too. That, it's through the blood of Christ wiping away the penalty for our sins, that we're able to approach the holiness of God. Not that we're holy, but we're cleansed by the blood of Christ.
And we're called to be set apart and holy.
Yep. Set apart.
So what? And then that entrance from the outside door, it's an office space for us and seating area. But what's that called?
The narthex.
The narthex. And what's the purpose of a
And a
narthex?
conference room and all. There didn't used to be a closed-in room. It used to be a front porch. Not in this church, it was built that way. But back in ancient times, it was a front porch. In the 1500s or whatever like that, there was a porch there. And you had a door that came into the body of the church. And the church was a center of activities in every community. And so they would post announcements on the outside of the door, and people would see that. That's when Martin Luther posted his thesis, 99 points. It was on the outside of the church door, because that's where people went to get.
That's where the announcements
Yeah.
were.
You didn't have cable news and stuff like that. The church was the center of life, and that's if you want to know what was going on in life, there it was. And, but over the years, that's closed in, and it becomes a gathering place, a transition place through weather and all that other kind of stuff that's there. But some churches are still like that. They open right out to the. There's no narthex at all, and that's okay. And you particularly see that when you go over to the old churches.
If you go to Savannah,
You can go to
it's
Savannah.
very common. You see the huge columns outside,
Oh, yeah.
which would be like the front porch area.
That's right. That's right.
And you can also see where they would have posted announcements and stuff in the stonework. And
Yep. But yeah, I enjoy talking about all that
what's your
because it's a kind of a mixture of history and architecture and theology and how the physical gives a representation to the spiritual, and everything serves as a reminder of something that's bigger than itself.
which is going all the way back to the tabernacle. Everything in the tabernacle was intentional by God.
Yeah. Yeah. Tabernacle. Ombre.
Yes, we have a new addition to the chapel over there called the Ombre, and there's a candle over it. It's a 7-day candle. So I've been watching it, and it needs to be changed out on Wednesday, so tomorrow. So I've been, because this is the first time we've lit one, to kind of watch it and say, okay, it is 7 days.
And that's the Ombre's thanks to Bill Stevenson and Donna. Yeah, Bill's quite the craftsman.
Oh,
He's
so
done a
talented.
lot for us.
Oh, my goodness.
And he did a lot of work on our house when we bought the house and had to do remodeling and stuff. Bill did all that. He's a
Very
very
gifted.
special fellow.
Very gifted.
And that craftsmanship is disappearing, really is. Those fellows out there working on that columbarium, most of them are older people, and each one of the older ones has at least one younger person that he's teaching the trade to, and
A lot of masonry going on over there.
and I watched. They got all the way around, and they went back, and one of the columns wasn't right, so they just took it all down and started over
I
again.
missed that.
And they have a thing out there. After they do it, everything gets cleaned up, and then they're looking for any spaces where the mortar isn't filled, and they mix up mortar and make it a little bit thinner than it usually is because it was put on with a trowel. And then they do it just like they're putting on icing on a cake, and they make this little sleeve,
Bag.
fill it up, and squeeze it in the holes like that. Wow. I bet that.
It was fun to watch him do the tabby shell on the back of the fountain. the water feature, and they would put the cement or plaster or whatever it was, and then they just start throwing the throwing the shells at it.
And they did on the sidewalks out there, while it was still wet, they were throwing salt on it. And the salt dissolves and leaves the little pot marks all in the thing, which makes it a different look, but it also gives you more traction when you're walking on it if it happens to be wet.
Didn't know that.
Good to know.
Good to know.
But they're perking out there now.
So what you been working on?
Reading, I'm back working on a sermon. I was talking to John this morning, and he had 30-something pages he was trying to cut down and all that kind of stuff. So I was working on my sermon from Elisha, 2 Kings chapter 6, and I had my sermon done. Good sermon, I think. But it had 2,600 words. That's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words.
Too many words.
So a typical sermon, 23,
21.
25 minutes, how many words does that have?
21 to 2,200. My normal preaching rhythm is 100 words a minute. So when I'm working on a word processor, that word count down there in the bottom left gives me a sense of how long it's going to be. Aside from the reading of the scripture, that doesn't count in the length of the sermon. But preaching this, I try to be 21 to 22 minutes, somewhere in there. And I know that I'm going to go over, as I make points or repeat something, I know it's going to go over a little bit, but I try to stay 21 or 22. So I had almost 2,600 words. So I've been working on cutting out and cutting out and cutting out. And you know, it's hard to do that.
It's very hard.
Because when you write something, you fall in love with your own words. You really do.
You're like,
Yeah,
oh, that's good. I can't cut that.
That's exactly right. Man, this is, and so it's hard to cut your own stuff. But sometimes when you're writing and you're doing a sermon, you get out there and it becomes more about your words, your thoughts and stuff like that than what God's trying to say. And so when I'm cutting, that's what I'm looking for. You know, where did I get that? You know, and I said, well, that's a good idea I had. You know, but it's not a true reflection of what the scripture is. And this text I'm doing is I'm just boom, 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 working through that 6th chapter. But to do the 6th chapter, you go back and you have to do the 5th chapter and the 4th chapter and all that to see how Elisha builds up and to see what his servants saw and all that, what he saw and what he didn't see, what he didn't remember. But I like doing that. I really enjoy writing sermons and the wordsmithing that goes on there, and sentence structure and everything else.
So this weekend you'll be on the historic campus?
We're doing all 3 services on the historic campus, and the week after that I'm over here for 2.
Sermon title is Lord, Open Our Eyes.
Open our eyes. Open our eyes so we can see what God is doing. And it's so easy to let the circumstances that are around us become like a cataract, and we can't see past the circumstances to see God. We get caught up in a reality, and you know, if you let your circumstances stand between, if this is you and this is God, and you let your circumstances get in here, your eyes are always going to be clouded. You just want to be blind, and so you live by fact. Where faith says, God stands between me and my circumstances. With God, all things are possible, and that's what, you know, Elisha tells his servant. You know, he prays the Lord, open his eyes so he can see. And you know, the thing is, an interesting point in that is that only the Lord can open the servant's eyes. Elisha could heal Naaman's leprosy, but he couldn't open Naaman's eyes. And when Naaman is there in that 6th chapter, Naaman's eyes still aren't opened. only the Lord can open our eyes to see him and to trust in him. I love those Old Testament stories. So I'm preaching on out of that, and then I'm going back to Genesis and another situation where I'm going to talk about Moses at the burning bush, and Moses is looking at the bush, but he doesn't see God. And then I'm going to talk, but before that, I'm going to preach on Abraham and the three visitors. And Abraham doesn't see God, his wife doesn't see God, and she starts laughing and all that kind of stuff. I love those Old Testament stories. Mm-hmm. I really do. And the Old Testament is what sets up and breathes life into the New Testament. The Old Testament, all those prophecies and promises and stuff, and the New Testament is fulfillment of the Old. Mm-hmm. So you can't really grasp the fullness of the New Testament unless you get a grip on what's God's story in the Old Testament. So I'm working on that as a preface to going into Advent. Looking forward to sharing all that.
Gosh, Advent.
Advent's close.
We got the bishop visiting in 3 weeks, mm-hmm. 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Yep. And he had said something that he was at the chapel, so we can televise that. And I think he mentioned that he'd like to do the chapel and then go across the street and do Crosspoint. None of the bishops have ever done Crosspoint before, and I don't know whether he'll do that or not. But that invitation stands for him. I hope he will. But if he's not comfortable in that environment, that's fine. And a lot of times he has another church in the afternoon that he has to go to too. So his schedule is zip, 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 zip.
Mm-hmm. And he'll be with us twice that week too.
Well, that's right. He's Wednesday night and he's back Sunday night.
Or Sunday
morning. Sunday morning, yeah. Mm-hmm. He has a wicked schedule.
A lot of people to see.
A lot of people, a lot of churches. Mm-hmm. A lot of churches.
Check in on and shepherd and all of it, yeah.
So I've been pacing it and to ease back into things. And now this week I'll be going full bore. And then a few weeks after that, I'll just be preaching. Then a few weeks after that, I'm going to pick up the preaching and celebrating. So if I can get your mama's permission.
Okay.
We'll see. Working on it. Dropping hints.
Well, I heard from the food bank that we are in need of bags, paper and plastic bags. So if you have paper and plastic bags at home, bring those to the chapel or drop them off at God's Goods or the food bank because we need bags.
Well, do they give bags in grocery stores anymore? I thought they were at that place where they didn't give bags anymore. You had to bring your own bags.
For a little bit, they banned plastic bags, but then they created a thicker plastic bag. But Publix is paper bags. So what they do at the food bank is all of the hundreds of bags of groceries that are taken to cars are in paper bags. And then the meat and produce are in plastic bags and then placed into the paper bag.
You know, we were in...
Because a lot of the meat's frozen.
When we were doing work in England, you had to bring your own bags to the grocery store.
There's some grocery stores that are like that.
Yes, sir. Really.
Aldi, I never take a bag in, so I only buy enough that I can carry.
Well, why bother?
Well, if I just need to run in and get like 2 things.
That's 2 things that Aldi has and nobody else has.
Sometimes I'm just right there at Aldi, and I'm like, I can go in and get butter, eggs.
Okay.
You know what we did this morning? This is hysterical.
No telling what you did this morning.
Last week, some of us on staff found out that Bennett Ellison had never in his life had a Pop-Tart. Now, you probably haven't either. Have you ever had a Pop-Tart?
Popsicle.
Not the same. You've never had a Pop-Tart?
I don't
Should've
remember.
brought 'em
I
over
don't remember ever eating one, but I know I've seen them because your
Sure,
mom
we
had them for
used to
y'all.
eat 'em all the
Yeah,
time.
your mom had them for y'all.
So this morning I did a taste test where Bennett tasted plain, not frosted strawberry, and brown sugar and cinnamon.
What do you
See,
think?
He thought he wouldn't buy them, he said. But he thought the brown sugar one was probably
So what does
the
he eat for
best.
breakfast?
Well, growing up, he said his mom made his breakfast every morning, which was fantastic. But sometimes we didn't get up in time, so you'd grab a Pop-Tart and go. That was the point of the Pop-Tart.
I had sausage and cream of wheat and fruit this morning.
That's awesome. I didn't.
Yeah, your mom's very faithful about that.
Cream of wheat.
Cream of wheat's good.
Sticks to your ribs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Have a little cheese on that mixed in there, you know. Yeah, that's very good. Very good fruit. It was bananas, cut up bananas and cut up pineapple and blueberries.
Nice.
That was good.
A well-balanced
Yep.
breakfast.
And topped it off with a bowl full of vitamins, and I'm good to go.
And
Good to-
you're
And cranberry juice to drink. Yep.
all right. Well, one day I'll bring a Pop-Tart and let you taste a Pop-Tart and see what you think. I kind of have an idea of what your response would be.
You know, your mom was, before we do the Lectio in the evening, we take a minute and run through Facebook. And I think we didn't used to do that, and I think there's,
It started with Compline, probably.
well, we do Compline. No, last night we did Compline.
Yeah.
But when we don't, the nights we don't have Compline, we do that Lectio. But before either one of them, or if we're running late after one of them, we'll run through some Facebook stuff, see.
And what do you think of that?
Not much.
Yeah.
But I think this is purposeful.
Okay.
She keeps showing me all these food, you just order it and stick it in the microwave, you know.
Oh, she's trying to transition you.
You know, there are a lot of people, companies that do that now.
Oh yeah, it's very
Yeah.
profitable.
You know, and I mentioned to her last night that I liked the way it was, you know, where she's fixing something and all that. And I said, these things can't possibly be as good as what you're doing.
No,
you know?
they're not. They're different.
Yeah. Anyway, she didn't say anything. But it's the whole idea of the meal is there. You ain't got to think about what you're going to fix. You ain't got to go to the grocery store.
It's one
And
less
it's
thing.
20
you have to
seconds
think about.
away and all that kind of stuff, you know, and then you throw it in the trash, the empty stuff in the trash. But wow, your mom's cooking is really great now.
It is. It's fantastic.
So I'm wondering if she's setting me up for something. So,
Perhaps.
we're gonna,
You'll keep us posted.
one day I'm going to come home and she's going to have a little something there to surprise me.
Yeah, perhaps. All right, and then you can fill
Now
us
she'll
in.
probably take it out of the carton that it's in, you know, because you see them on TV and they just slide the Facebook thing. It's a black
Slides
carton or
out,
whatever
yeah.
kind of carton, and it's in there, the compartments and stuff. It's slide in there. But
All right, well, we're going to wrap up because I have a meeting with the historical committee right now.
well, there you go.
Yeah. Learn
I
about
bet they're
what
not
they've
putting
got.
the meals in there, are
Learn about what they've got coming up in the next year.
they? That's great.
Yes. We're very thankful for them. So, food bank. I think it is hearty soup, diced tomatoes is the new one. Diced tomatoes, paper bags, pasta, anything. You could bring Pop-Tarts if you wanted to. And bring it to services this weekend or drop off any day during the week at the parish office or on Monday or Saturday at the food bank next to God's Goods. We've got lots of things going on and getting started, so check out the magazine that was released last week. And if you haven't seen it yet, make sure you're on the mailing list for us to send out emails on Thursdays at 3. And what do you always say? You can't do everything.
That's right. Be
But
faithful in your prayers, be faithful in worship, be faithful in studying Scripture, and be faithful in doing something for somebody else in the name of the Lord.
there you go. So
There you
on
go.
that note, go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thanks be to God. See you when I see you, friends. Blessings to you.